The other day, I was sitting at a stoplight and I saw a man out sitting at the intersection panhandling, and um, the car in front of me reached his hand out to give this man a McChicken, right? Because McDonald's was right around the corner, and I remember thinking, wow, that's very nice of him. So the panhandler then went along the line of cars to see what else he could get, right? And next thing I knew, um, the car in front of me reached his hand back out, but this time with a full bag of McDonald's food. And I'm sitting here in my car watching this happen. Like, wow, like I felt the warmth and the love from that moment, that act of kindness, to where it affected me, right? Even though it didn't happen to me, I wasn't the one being handed the food. I wasn't the one um, being shown that act of kindness, but just by witnessing it, being in that moment with these people, I felt connected to them. And that led me to this greater thought here. Um, so then I started thinking about, okay, there's many different ways I can approach this. I can, um, try to snap a picture before the light turns green to share this on Facebook and Twitter and social media. Um, or I can text a friend and I could say, hey, wow, this just happened. Wow, isn't this awesome? Um, or I could let it sit with me. And so um, I chose the latter. Um, and in the situation, I could not grab a good picture, and I didn't have anyone in the car with me to lean over and say, "Wow, did you see that?" Um, and I realized um, that there's something important in this situation. The fact that when we see something like this, we let it sit with us and let it integrate fully before we turn around, whether that's to post something on social media, whether that's to comment on it to our friend or passenger in the car, or even our kid in the back seat, right? We need time to fully integrate that within ourselves, um, because that's what makes the moment meaningful. Um, and I feel like it's the conscious mind that wants to process it and say, oh, well, that was nice, and move along with your day. Um, but what that does is it robs you of all the things that you could have gotten if you just sat with it, if you just were there in the moment with it, right? Because while you are a silent observer, you're fully in that moment, you're fully experiencing it, you are part of that. It happened to you, right? Again, you weren't handed the McChicken or the bag of food, uh, but you were impacted by it, right? So what makes us impacted by it? How does this affect us? Um, well, that's how. When we are so, I want to say, calm with ourselves, to where we aren't thinking of anything else and we are just existing in the moment, that's when all of the blockages and the trauma and the weird things we have going on with our own selves that keep us from gaining everything that we could in that moment and integrating it into our own self, our own template, to having it affect us. Um, that's kind of what the disruption is. And so, you know, instead of thinking about, wow, this is a great moment for me to capture and I can post it on social media and then I can tell my friend about it and I'll get lots of likes and comments and whatever. Yes, people love to comment on things, so I think that's part of the problem, is all the commentary. In the midst of all the commentary, we forget that we are experiencing the moment, and that by experiencing it, that is what we gain out of it, right? Because otherwise, just to comment on things, like, what kind of life is that? objective and yeah, no one wants that. And really, you don't even have to think about what's happening, right? So in this instance, if you see an act of kindness right in front of you, remember, why is it so impactful? It's not impactful because we turn around and we say, well, look at this act of kindness. It's impactful because we watched it happen in front of our eyes, and we were, again, the silent observer, to where we allowed it for even just a moment to integrate at those deeper levels. Because when we experience something, we see something happen in front of us, first we have to process it, right? And then we integrate it. And integration that can take a hot minute. It doesn't, happen necessarily all at once. But as soon as we lean over to our friend in our passenger seat, or as soon as we post on social media, we have become the observer, the active observer. And what that does is that removes our connection to the situation. We are no longer part of what's happening. We are commenting on it, right? How can you comment on something if you're within it? You can't. You have to be outside of it. And so I just thought this was a beautiful, very simple example of how we can go about our lives and see just the smallest things, someone holding the door open for us or what have you, or something more, almost extreme, but to where, you're driving the road and you see there's the most beautiful sunset, and, you don't have to pause that moment or step outside of that moment by bringing someone else into it. That moment is meant for you. In your self, your subtle bodies are connecting with it in the exact way that they should. And these acts of kindness, like the man who held his hand out of his car to give that bag of McDonald's after he's already given him the guy a sandwich, that right there, it's like, wow, I just witnessed an act of kindness that not only was an act of kindness to the panhandler, it was an act of kindness to me. My heart was opened by that. I felt the impact from it. I got the effect from it. It fully seeped into and permeated the template that I have, the beliefs that I have. And those are the kind of things where, these are the things that inspire people to, however many months later, you hear these huge things happening where homeboy, left an $800 tip on a $100 meal. I don't know, things like that. Or founded a company to support these people. And so I'm sharing this story with you just to encourage that the next time you experience a moment like this, even if you don't realize the power of it as it's happening, give yourself a minute to just be, right? Before you even let your mind wander to, oh, this is a great Instagram post or what have you. Just be and experience what you're witnessing. And remember that line between, experiencing and observing. Because once you cross that line, you have potentially robbed yourself of all of the things that you have yet to integrate from that moment, right? You immediately bring your ego into it and so on and so forth. So that's what I had to share.